everyone. This is Rose with the Normal Paranormal Group. I was asked by my sisters, Debbie and Sandy, to let you know what happened to me in our basement of our home that we lived in. The home that Debbie had made, actually wrote a book on. And they had some bad experience upstairs. But the real bad experience was down in the basement, in the front of the basement. No one needs to ever experience that. I was reluctant to tell you because I wanted to forget about it, and I didn't even want to remember it, but everyone says if I tell it, maybe it would just leave. I don't know. But anyway, we lived in a house that was haunted. My dad used to go to the basement where he had his privacy, where he'll get down there and make fishing sinkers, drink his beer, listen to music, and just talk. Well, I was 15 years old when we were sitting in the front of the basement, and my father was sitting there making his fishing sinkers and talking to me and playing music. Well, I looked over at him, and he said, one day, you're going to learn how to do this. I said, okay. And he said, watch me. So I was sitting there watching him. And in the front of the basement, on one side, we had the whole basement lit up. But there was another side where the furnace was. That place was dark, pitch dark, where you couldn't see nothing. My dad and I was sitting there, and he was making them sinkers and talking to me. When he happened to look up, his eyes got as big as quarters. Let me tell you, I never seen my dad turn white as a ghost, and his eyes got huge, really huge. And I looked at him because he dropped his can of beer. He just dropped it, and I said, oh my God, he had a stroke or something. And I asked him if he's okay, and he kept staring over where the furnace is, in the corner of that basement, on the block wall. Well, we was looking, and I looked at him and looked over the block wall, and you would never believe. Let me tell you, there are demons everywhere. I stood there and watched it. Something big and black with red beady eyes come out of that wall. It just scared the heck out of me. My dad, he said, let's ease off, let's just back up and just leave. But there was something standing there. It was solid black, and its eyes were red as fire. I mean, I don't know what it was. It was something enough to scare my father where we would not never turn off the lights. Every light in the house was on. At nighttime in the basement, we was not allowed to go down there after dark. If we had to wash clothes, it had to wait till tomorrow or the next day. And everything, but there are demons because I seen one. I can't never forget the red beady eyes. And I was really reluctant to tell this story because I didn't know if I should tell it or just leave it buried in the past. But what my dad and I seen was something that I don't experience, no one to see. It was there. It was in the wall. It come out of the wall, out of a concrete block wall. And so after he said, let's back up, we backed up, went to the other side of the basement where his washing machine and dryer was. We backed up. Well, the next day, he went down to the basement, and he made sure every one of the lights were on. He told us girls not to go in the basement after dark. Do not definitely go in the basement after dark. And when it was nighttime, when it's daylight, my dad went in the basement, and him and his buddy Joe DeWire went down there and moved his workbench from the front of the basement to the basement, to the back of the basement where the door was. He wanted to be closer to the door. So we seen that thing again. We could get out that door quick. But it was evil, whatever it was. It was, I don't know, it was something I don't even want to think about. Hi, Diane. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Tracy. But it was something that I was really reluctant to share with everybody because, I didn't want to remember it. It was something at 15 years old, you don't want to remember something like that. But I'm glad that, we made it out there okay, and I'm glad that my father put his workbench, the house, and my grandmother was there. Well, my grandmother was mean. She was real mean to us. And she was yelling at me for something and sent me to my room. Well, she heard some noises in the hallway, in the front hallway upstairs by the front door. She went out there and looked out the door, and nothing was there. But when next time she looked out the door, something had reached out and grabbed her, left big, humongous handprints on her arm. And she started yelling and screaming because nothing was in that hallway. Nothing was standing in the hallway. And ever since then, she was so nice to us girls. I mean, I don't know, it's unexplainable. There were some things I seen in the house, and I would never go back there again. That basement is just horrifying. It's horrible for a 15-year-old to see. Especially my father, his eyes got as big as quarters, and he didn't, it's just something that I didn't want to remember. But I thought maybe you would like to know about it because, Debbie and Sandy did not know anything about this until I told them about 2 years ago what had happened to me and what we seen and why my dad refused to go to the front of the basement and why my dad had every light on in the house. Every light on in the basement had to stay on 24/7. He said he didn't care how much it cost. He would need some lights on. And they had to have 100-watt light bulbs in every corner of that basement was lit up. After we seen the shadow man come out of the wall with the red beady eyes, forget it. He wasn't taking no chances. Everything he worked on in the front of the basement, his workbench, his sinkers, played his music, went all the way to the back of the basement, really close to the back door, so that way, if something did happen like that to us again, we had to leave. But like I said, we was not allowed down there after dark. It was something evil and hateful down there, and it's awful. And about that man or whatever that thing was that grabbed my grandmother in the hallway, I bet she, when she come through the hallway, she was white as a ghost because it had some really huge fingerprints on her arm. I mean, it was deep imprinted in her arm, like someone muscular just grabbed her and squeezed her. So that is my, the truth. It's not a story. This is what it happened. It's real life. If anyone knew us when we was growing up, our friends that hung around us would not go in our house. Some of them would not go to the basement, and some would definitely not go to the attic. And so, maybe, I'm thinking about something else, but I didn't want to tell this because this frightened me for all these years, and I didn't want to tell it because I didn't want to have any more nightmares about it. But maybe since I told you, maybe just disappear in the atmosphere because I would never like to see that thing again. That's what we needed, an exorcism priest in that basement. We needed something in that basement. Then we did not know, what we was dealing with because my father didn't know. My mother wasn't saying anything, but I bet she knew. There was evil and hate in the basement, and the little girls upstairs were nice. They helped Debbie and Sandy out a lot. And, that was it. And I do thank you for watching. And I will sign off and let you do whatever you're doing. And I'm sorry you're sitting in the house so long for this quarantine. Maybe it'll be better in a couple weeks. And God bless everyone. Thank you.